Yo, yo. What's up, guys? So, this is the final video of the mold making series of videos. So, in the last one, we talked about making the exterior mold out of aqua resin. You can see I've done it on both sides. We've got our seam line running up the center all the way through. It is very hard, solid, and dry. So, or mostly dry enough. So now we're gonna demold it. Remember, we used Vaseline to keep the silicone from bonding to itself. Here's the external, one of the external mother molds, one half, and the second half. So now we need to get the seam line. Now the thing with silicone is it bonds to itself immediately, or not immediately, but very well. So if there was any runoff, which there is, there always will be, that wasn't Vaseline, it does stick. So you have to try and kind of gotta dig in there to find that Vaseline seam, and sometimes have to do some cutting, hence the knife, for where it ran over. This might take me a few minutes, but once we really get in there. Actually, I can take the modeling clay overflow lip portion out. I must not have used enough Vaseline. It's a good bit of overflow here, but I'm getting it. Yeah, I probably should have used more Vaseline, but the seam is there. Should have just used a little bit more Vaseline when I did it. Alright, I'm going to keep working on this, and then we'll come back when I have it all demolded. Okay, so I pulled the old helmet out, and I've got the mold over here. So what happened is the seam line that I made out of the modeling clay and I had running up his head was not completely tight and flush against the surface. There was a little bit of a gap between the clay in here and the helmet. So when I did that, and I laid this thing flat and I poured the silicone on top of it, the silicone was able to run underneath here and coat down past the seam. So the seam wasn't perfect, hence why it was sticking before, but I was able to cut enough of the seam in order to get the silicone off of the helmet. It's actually, and this actually might end up being kind of a good thing, one large piece with just slits cut deep enough in it far enough up that I could peel it off. So this will lay flat inside of the exterior mold, and then I'll use this other side, the other exterior mold section, to lay on top over here, and then using clamps, I will clamp the silicone to the mold. I was saying this might actually end up being a good thing, because then now any casts I pull from this will actually have a very, very, very small seam line. Because I'll show you here in a second once I get this all clamped up. In order to get this thing to come off, I only cut the seam part of the way. So it actually might end up being kind of a really good mistake. Might have to make these helmets like this way in the future, depending on how the plastic pulls come or look afterwards. Okay, so I've got some clamps on here. Now I'd put more on when I actually go to make a pull, but you'll see what I did is I lined up the silicone inside the exterior mother mold. I clamped the two halves of that mold shut, and I clamped the silicone to the mold itself. So that way you can see there's a large opening in there. I don't know how much of that you can really see on camera, but that's the helmet, or will be once I cast it in plastic. Now I was saying might be a good mistake, because typically this entire seam line is a line. When I cast it, you will see, this line is clearly visible in any cast pulls from a two-part mold like this seam line. But because of my mistake with the silicone, this seam line is on the exterior, which is perfect for helping me clamp it, but it actually sits flush on the inside. There's no line, there's no cut, because I didn't cut it all the way through. I only cut to about this point on the front end and about that point on the back. So when I do a pull of this, you'll only see a seam that comes up to about here and here, meaning there'll be a lot less sanding necessary, which is actually kind of a good thing. So this might actually work out well. So then in the next video, we will do some plastic casting and see what we get. Hopefully the helmet pulled from this actually is acceptable. And so yeah, don't know when that video will happen. Hopefully soon. Might need a little bit of time because I need to check how much plastic I actually still have, if I have enough to actually do a pull or not. But yeah, keep checking in and feel free to subscribe. Thanks, guys.